Okay, we have reached our last lesson that we're going to be doing on setting. And today we're going to think about how do the characters and setting work together to develop the story. Remembering that the setting is the time, place, and environment in which the story takes place. Today we're going to combine everything we have learned up to this point. You're very familiar with setting, comparing settings, making inferences about the setting, making connections to how the story would be different in a different setting or time, and citing text evidence. Today we're going to take you to the next level of understanding with writing summaries. Let's take a look at the books that we read this week. We read A Train to Somewhere. The story took place in the mid-1850s to the late 1920s, and the train is the main setting of the story. The train would take children off the streets in New York to the orphanages in the West to be adopted. Some children went to families who needed the children to work on the farms or help watch younger children. Mary Ann is one of the 14 children making the trip. She's hoping to be reunited with her mother, who left several years previously to make a new life for them in the West, and who had promised to send for Mary Ann. At each stop, Mary Ann searches the crowd for her mother and watches as the boys and the younger girls are chosen for adoption. Finally, only Mary Ann and Miss Randolph are left on the train. Somewhere, Iowa is the last stop. Waiting for them are an older couple who had been hoping for a boy. The grandmotherly woman looks at Mary Ann and recognizes the hurt of not being chosen and of not finding her mother. She tells Mary Ann, sometimes what you get turns out better than what you wanted in the first place. The setting of this story and the theme of the story opens a window to a little-known aspect of history. The illustrations within the story convey the emotions of the story. The theme is that every child wants a loving family. So that is a summary of A Train to Somewhere. Another story we listened to was An Angel for Solomon Singer. In this story, the author uses a lot of imagery and figurative language to help you see the pictures in your head. Remember, Solomon Singer lived in a hotel room in New York City. He was really wanting, a different life. He wanted his home to have a balcony, fireplace, porch swing, and a picture window. Since he did not love where he lived, Solomon wandered the streets at night. One night, he goes to a restaurant called Westway Cafe, which on its sign said, "All your dreams come true there." Solomon begins to frequent the restaurant and is served by a waiter named Angel. Each night, Solomon would order up a dream with his supper, and slowly things in his life began to change. Solomon began to see the beauty of the world around him because he had found a place that he loved and did not feel alone anymore. Now, think about what I had just read to you about An Angel for Solomon Singer and A Train to Somewhere. Do you notice by throwing in details of the setting and what the characters were going through changed my summary? Okay. You're going to listen to the story, Follow the Drinking Gourd. And while you listen to the story, I want you to take notice how the setting changes throughout the story and how that change affects the characters in the story. I want you to write down on your whiteboard what you observe and cite evidence from the story on your whiteboard. When you are done, you are going to write a setting reading response. You will answer the above response questions by citing evidence from the story, Follow the Drinking Gourd, to another book. All right. So what that means is you're going to listen to the story and then you're going to answer these questions. What is the setting of your book? This one. And why is it important? Does the setting of this book remind you of the setting of any other books you've read? This is where you're going to have to think about books that you have read. And how would this book be different if the setting happened in today's time, modern times? You're going to have to make sure that you include the setting of the actual story and how and why it would change if it happened today. So remember, in a summary, you always want to include somebody wanted, but so then. And you're going to take that organizer that we use, the somebody wanted, but so then, but you also need to give a lot of details about the setting and how it affects the character of the story.